Hi, Rick. Good after. Well, where are you? I think are you on the West Coast? If you're on the West Coast, good morning. If you're on the East Coast, where I am, it is just about noon. So we are going to get into this topic really quickly. Just waiting for my folks over here on YouTube to join because we're going to be talking about interest rates lowering. This is a big freaking deal. If you are on and you are popping on, do not leave this live because this is going to affect everything that you do for the next 2 years almost, at least next year and a half. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do with your money because you want to maximize this moment. Interest rates are really high right now. They're going to be lowered, but they're not going to be lowered right now. And I'm not just saying this. The Federal Reserve has actually announced that they're lowering interest rates. So this is a really, really big deal. If you are live with me, say what's up. Where are you calling in from? Janelle is from the West Coast, Cali. Beverly is in. Where you at, Beverly? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Rick says Pacific time. Okay, but he works East Coast banking hours. Got you. Looking at interest rates all morning. This is perfect for you then, Rick. Valika is here as well. If you are not watching on YouTube, I want to encourage you to come over on YouTube. Of course, you can stay here on Instagram if you would like to, but YouTube is where the party is at. YouTube gives me the opportunity to be able to post links, share my screen, all the things, really provide the full experience. Instagram is a little bit, haterish in that way. They do not allow me to do that. Facebook, I can't even get the platforms right. YouTube allows that opportunity. So, if you want to come over to YouTube, you're welcome to. Just simply search for The Get Money Show. That's The Get Money Show, and you will find it over here on YouTube. For all my YouTubers who are here live with me, welcome, welcome, welcome. So excited to see you. Danny is calling in from St. Louis. Apster is from New Jersey. Karen, hey Karen. Pamela is here. Dr. Nicole is from Charlotte. Where else? I got somebody else. Gigi Cran from New Jersey. Samantha from Detroit. Love the D. That's where I am. And speaking of the D, it's been pretty cold here lately. It was warm just like a couple of days ago, and now it's like freezing. I don't know what's going on. I had to turn my heat on. New York says T. Who else we got here? Lori is coming in from the DMV. Pamela's from Chicago. Gail is from Jersey. My Lynette, hope I said your name right, is from North Carolina. Courtney's from Georgia. Dora is from Columbia, South Carolina. Tanya is from Bedford. That's where I went to high school. Bearcats for life. All right, y'all like my shirt? Currently only accepting good vibes and money. That's all I want. Don't bring me nothing else. Don't bring me nothing else. If it's bad vibes or if it's trash, get it out of here, right? If you are of the same sentiment, let me know in the comments. Give me a 1 in the comments if you are feeling currently only accepting good vibes and money. If that's all that you're accepting, give me a 1 in the comments. All right. Pamela, yeah, love the shirt. Thank you. Lisa's from Wentzville, Missouri. Okay. Vicky is from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I love to see it. Okay, you guys. So today we're going to be talking about the Fed and interest rates. So before we get started, if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, I need you to make sure that you click that subscribe button. We have been dating for a while. I need a commitment. Okay. Like, I'm not going to be one of these girls that you just date whoever you want to date. Okay. Like, we got to go together. Like, we go together real bad. Okay. So I need you to click the subscribe button if you are not yet a subscriber of the Get Money Show. Also, do me a favor and like this video. Hit the thumbs up. It allows YouTube to do 2 things for you. 2 things and 1 thing for you. One of those things is that it lets YouTube know that you like this type of content. So they will continue to serve you with content like this from me and from other creators as well. The second thing is that it allows other people to know that you like this and lets YouTube know, hey, this content is valuable. Let us push it out to other people. If you do not know anything about me yet, which most of you probably do, but if you do not know, I will let you know my whole entire goal is to educate people on their money in a way that is easy to understand, not confusing, and makes it less overwhelming. And I can only do that if you help me get the word out. So you simply do that by simply clicking the thumbs up button. Okay. I appreciate you. Last thing I need you to do is leave a comment. If you see my head swiveling back and forth, Okay, that's because I'm talking to you guys here on YouTube, and I'm also talking to you guys here on Instagram. Okay, again, if you're on Instagram and you want to be where the real party is, you want to come over here to Instagram, to YouTube, just search for the Get Money Show on YouTube and you will find us. Okay, all right, but either way, leave comments and I will answer every question that I see. Okay, all right. The Fed is lowering interest rates. This is a huge deal. And I'm going to tell you, I'm all about teaching you guys the why behind things, not just telling you what to do. I believe that if you teach a person to fish, they are set for life, right? So I'm going to teach you how to fish today, okay? So first of all, we are currently at a 20-year high for interest rates. If you feel like things are really, really tight right now, like everything is costing all your money, let me know. Give me a 2 in the comments. If you feel like you are spending, like you just can't get ahead, everything that you spend money on costs 3 times as much right now. Money is tight. Like you might be living paycheck to paycheck. Things are just like kind of hard. Give me a 2. Give me a 2 in the comments if you feel like that's you. I'm seeing all the 2s. If it feels like really tight, like you just been like, what the hell is going on? Like I can't catch a break, right? Let me know. I see all these 2s, right? And this is what I really want you to all to understand. Like I tell you guys a lot of times, growing money, making money, becoming wealthy is very simple in concept, right? It's very simple, but it's not easy, right? It's not easy for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is because 1, it requires discipline. 2, it requires patience. 3, it requires consistency. These are 3 things that most humans struggle with, right? And for that reason, most of us will usually tend to struggle with money until we get educated on it in a way that makes sense to us, right? Which is why I'm here for you, okay? The other reason that you're feeling this way is because most of us don't understand how money really circulates and moves and how literal like people are controlling how much the interest rates are. It's not just happenstance that interest rates are high right now. This is by design. It's not a conspiracy theory. It just is what it is. These are the facts, okay? And I'm explaining all of it to you today. So what is the Fed? The Fed, if you hear people say the Fed is lowering interest rates or the Fed is raising interest rates or whatever, the Fed is the central bank of the United States. So they basically govern, it's basically the Federal Reserve, okay? So they govern a number of things, okay? But one of the main things that they do is govern monetary policy, okay? If I lose any of you at any point, please do not be shy. Please ask your questions. I want to make sure all of you understand this, okay? So monetary policy means that when they govern monetary policy, what that basically means is that they're governing stable, making sure things have stable prices, right? Or hoping that things maintain stable prices, maximizing employment, and also monitoring and moderating interest rates, right? So interest rate fluctuation is not like just random. Okay. The Fed, aka the Federal Reserve, aka the Central Bank of the United States, is the one who is controlling the rates. Now, they don't set the rates that you might receive, and I'll explain all this in a minute, right? They don't necessarily control the rates you receive on credit cards, mortgages, car loans, things like that, but they influence them. So they set a minimum bar, and then the banks that you deal with will usually charge you, the average consumer, a higher interest rate, because what are banks in the business of? Banks are not just there to, put your money up and keep it safe. They're there to make money. Like banks are a business, right? And so if the Federal Reserve is charging them or setting a certain rate to them, they certainly can't charge you that rate because they have to charge more in order to make a profit. Okay. So the federal funds rate, follow me here. The federal funds rate is the rate that banks charge each other to lend money to each other overnight. All right. That rate is set by the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve sets the federal fund rate. Follow me? If you follow me, give me a thumbs up because this part is really important. I need you to get this so that we can understand the rest of this. Okay. The federal funds rate is set by the Federal Reserve, and that federal funds rate is the rate that banks charge each other to borrow money from each other overnight. Okay. Currently, that rate is between 5.25 and 5.5%. Okay. 5.25 and 5.5%. So if Chase borrows money from Bank of America tonight, Bank of America is going to charge Chase between 5.25 and 5.5%. Okay. Got it. Okay, great. I see the thumbs up. All right. Now, because they're being charged a fee, they have to charge a fee on top of that in order to make money. So when you go to get your car loan, right, it might be 7%. It might be 6%. It might be 8% based upon your credit worthiness and your credit score, right? But it's likely going to be over and above whatever that federal funds rate is. Same thing goes with student loans. Same thing goes with, yes, Rick, he said the spread, right? Same thing happens with mortgages, car loans, student loans, personal loans, business loans, all of that. Home equity lines of credit, all of those, credit cards even. The federal funds rate will influence basically the bottom floor level of what these companies are going to charge you in order to borrow money from them. Okay. So here's the thing. If people aren't spending enough money, right? So like if inflation, hey Lori. So if inflation is high, right? And people aren't spending, well, back up. If people aren't spending enough money, that means that not enough money is circulating through the economy, right? And the whole point of the Fed, well, one of the main points, like I told you, is monetary policy. So they're working to keep the economy at like a really nice temperature, for example. Okay. Think about it like a cup of coffee or maybe even like a cup of tea, right? They want to keep it at that perfect temperature. They don't want to get too high. They don't want to get too low. They want to prevent a recession. Although they haven't always been successful at preventing recessions, their goal is supposed to be, at least, to prevent a recession. Okay. And so if it's not at that nice, cool temperature, then they will do one of two things. They will either raise interest rates or they'll lower interest rates. Well, if people aren't spending enough money and they need to stimulate the economy, then what are they going to do? They're going to lower interest rates. So let me explain how this works, right? If people aren't spending enough money, it's probably because costs and expenses are too high. So think about like right after the pandemic, like eggs were like $5 or something crazy. Hey, Tommy. Hey, thanks for coming over to YouTube. Eggs were like $5 or something crazy, right? Remember that? Like people were like, I can't even afford eggs, right? So the costs were too high. And so when that happens, people don't spend as much money. People are much more tighter with their wallets. They're much more cautious, right? And so the Federal Reserve is like, oh, we need to be at this nice cool temperature, right? And so if it's not at that nice, cool, even temperature, they're going to lower interest rates because they want people to spend more money. If interest rates are lower, people are spending more money. If interest rates are high, people are spending less money, right? Okay. So we're currently at a spot where like we're pretty close to a recession, right? And I mean, they're not calling it a recession, but it is what it is, right? Like if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's pretty much a duck, right? And so we're pretty much at the forefront of it possibly being on the brink of a recession, right? And this really started post-COVID. Think about COVID happened. Everybody got their stimulus checks. It was so much money in the economy. Like people was balling, right? That money ran out. And when that happened, interest rates went up. And interest rates are still up. And people are not spending as much money as they typically would or like they were before because things are high. So what does the Fed do? The Fed says, hey, we're going to lower interest rates. And again, like I know a lot of times we think like rates going up and down are just like accidental or happenstance. So it's just the way that things are going. Like, no, these are a pool of 12 people who are sitting in an office and they're determining, hey, I think we need to lower interest rates, or hey, we need to raise interest rates. This is one of the, well, I'm not going to get into that yet, but just put a pin in what I'm about to tell you. Wealthy people, and I'm not going to say wealthy, I'm just going to say rich, because rich and wealthy are two different things, okay? So we're not talking about like the Jeff Bezoses. We're not talking about the Elon Musk. We're not talking about those people. I'm talking about the average 7-figure person, the average millionaire, the person who lives in the suburbs of your city. You see them driving down the street on the highway, right? Like they probably are not driving like a Benz. They driving their average looking car. You don't even know if they're a millionaire, but they are, right? Those people love when interest rates are high. They love this time. They love it. They love it. They love it. They love it. The average middle class person, or even what we would consider poor person does not like when interest rates are high for obvious reasons, because everything costs more. But people who have money and have worked to grow their money, like you guys are going to learn, who are all taking the Fix My Money challenge, right? You're going to learn, and I'm going to teach you some of it today, why they love when interest rates are high. And that's going to be you in just a minute. Okay. All right. So currently the Federal Reserve has the interest rates at 5.25 to 5.5%. That is a 20-year high. Interest rates have not been this high since 2001. Since 2001, interest rates were around 6%, which was really, really high at that time, given that that was like over 20 years ago, right? Since then, interest rates have been lower, but right now we're at the highest rate that they have ever been. And that's why it feels to you like everything's expensive, because not only are interest rates high, but the cost of everything is high as well. Just things that you have to buy every day cost a lot of money. Danny says she got debt free with her stimulus checks. I love that you use that for that purpose, Danny, because most people didn't. Most people went out and they bought trips. Most people went out and they bought TVs. Most people bought cars, things that are going to depreciate in value or have no value at all. And I'm so glad that you were smart enough to know that, hey, this is an opportunity for me to use this money to get out of debt. So hand claps to you. Y'all give it up for Danny. Y'all give me a hand clap emoji in the comments for Danny, because that is a smart money move. I love it. I love to see my rich friends doing it, right? Super, super smart. All right. So here's the thing. When interest rates are up per the Federal Reserve, okay? Look at all the hand claps coming in for Danny. I love it. When interest rates are high when the Federal Reserve sets interest rates high, okay, everything else goes up that you would borrow money for. So, and even things you wouldn't borrow money for. So mortgage rates go up, right? What else? Car loans go up. Student loan rates go up. Personal loans go up. Business loans go up. All these rates go up for money that you will borrow. So it will cost you more money right now to borrow money. It'll cost you more money to borrow money right now than it will when the Federal Reserve cuts its rates, which is why I'm gonna tell you what to do. Okay. Those are the cons. However, and this is why rich people love when the economy has high interest rates, is because not only do those rates go up, but bank rates go up for passive income as well. So you guys have heard me talk about high yield savings accounts over and over and over and over, right? I'm constantly telling you guys, get a high yield savings account. And if you are in the Fix My Money challenge, we're gonna get you together. You're gonna have your high yield savings account. You'll be 10xing your money. You'll be making money in your sleep. Okay. Those rates go up too. So currently, high yield savings accounts rates are at an all-time high also. This is why rich people love that, right? Because they don't really have a lot of debt. The average person, I'm not talking about the Elon Musk and all the people who got millions of dollars in debt, but they also have billions of dollars in the bank. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about you and me, right? The person who lives down the street from me, the person who lives in the suburbs of your city, right? Those people, they love when interest rates are high because they don't have a lot of debt. So they're not worried about the mortgage rates. They're not worried about the too much, right? Because they probably were smart enough to buy when it was down. They're not too worried about car loan rates because they probably don't even have a car note, right? They probably don't. They probably bought their car cash. Or if they bought it with a loan, they bought a car that they could afford and pay off pretty quickly. They're not worried about personal loans because they don't borrow. They have enough money in their high yield savings accounts. They have enough money in their emergency savings accounts to account for any emergencies. So they're not taking out personal loans for that sort of thing. They may not even have business loans. Okay. So they're not taking out loans. They're not worried about those interest rates, but they are worried about the rates on those high yield savings accounts, those CDs, those other investment vehicles that are making money for them. So you make more money passively, because y'all know I'm all about the passive income, right? I'm all about what we call it, the FU money. The money that comes in while you're sleeping, while you're doing nothing. The money that you don't have to work your ass off for. The money that you're just doing nothing. You're sitting on your butt watching TV. You're with your kids. You're on the toilet. You're wherever, and you're making money, right? That money gets increased exponentially when interest rates are high. So right now is an amazing time to make sure you have a high yield savings account. If you have started your high yield savings account, if you've been watching me and you started your high yield savings account, give me a 3 in the comments. If you haven't, don't worry about it because you're probably in the Fix My Money Challenge and we're going to get you together. But if you have already started your high yield savings account, no matter how much is in it, give me a 3 in the comments. A 3. Okay. And if you haven't, don't stress. Okay. By the way, before we get a little bit further into this, I want to let you guys know that because this news has come out that interest rates are rising. Interest rates are being lowered. And let me tell you how much they're being lowered by. Rick has one. Danny, Katie, Samantha can't wait to get started. Valika, Yvonne, Rhonda, Vicky, all y'all have high yield savings accounts. Okay. Let me know. I'm just curious. How many of you started your high yield savings account since you've been watching the Get Money Show? Give me a 4 if you just started it since you've been watching the Get Money Show. All right. While you guys are doing that, interest rates are being lowered they're supposed to be lowered to around 4% by the end of 2025. So think about this. It's going to go from 5.25 to 4%. That is huge. That is a huge difference. Think about a $200,000 mortgage or a $30,000 car loan or a $10,000 personal loan or a $150,000 home equity loan, home equity line of credit, right? Think about that 1.5%. That is an enormous difference that you will be saving at the end of 2025. But right now we're at an all-time high, which means that there's a number of things that you should do and you shouldn't do. I'm going to tell you exactly what those are in just a second. Now, before we get into that, I want to let you guys know that so most of you have just started since you've been watching the show. Okay, great. Linda says, where do you get a high yield account? Linda, are you in the Fix My Money Challenge? Because if so, we're going to talk about it extensively in the Fix My Money Challenge. Nancy has not yet. No worries. A lot of you guys had just started it. Katie has had one for at least 10 years now. Perfect. Okay. Rick says typical adjustment is 0.5 to 0.05. Yes, that's a great point. That's a great point, Rick. Thank you for saying that. So I'm going to come back to that in just a second. The Fix My Money Challenge is sold out. It's done. It's like we couldn't fit any more people in. But because this news has come out, and this is like the prime time for you guys to be paying off your debt, fixing your credits, not borrowing money, maximizing this moment where you can build the most passive income possible. The more than you possibly could in the past 20 years right now is happening. I actually decided to open up the challenge and make more space because I want to get as many people in there as possible, because my whole goal is to make sure that you are doing the most that you can with your money. There's no reason why you have to be feeling like you can't afford things like a lot of you guys did when you gave me a 2 in the comments, right? There's no reason if you know what to do. But the TV and the people and the news, they just make money so complicated. They make it so difficult. And it's really not. Like I said, it's actually really simple, but it's not easy because it requires a few things: discipline, consistency, and patience, and education that's not overwhelming, right? So we're going to get you together in 5 days. If you would like to sign up for the Fix My Money Challenge, it is only $64. It is only $64, y'all. Like, how much do you spend? How much do you spend in a week on bull? Like, honestly, right? If it's not working for you, right? If it's not working for you, whatever you're doing, is it working? Is it worth $64 to make it work? Right? If you're tired of living paycheck to paycheck, if you're tired of things not being able to afford things, if you're tired of not opening your bills, if you're tired of not answering the phone because you're worried as a bill collector, or if you're just tired of, if none of that is you and you're just simply tired of, hey, like an emergency might happen and I don't think I have enough money to cover it, or my retirement is coming, whether I'm close to it or not, and I don't know if I have enough money for retirement. If any of those are you, then the Fix My Money Challenge to me sounds like it's worth $64, right? So if you are interested in signing up for it, I'm only opening it up until tonight, okay? Because we start on Monday and we have orientation on Sunday. And I can't have people coming in at the last minute, so I got to cut off at some point. But only because this Federal Reserve stuff is happening, I'm opening it back up today. Okay. So I'm gonna put the link in the comments and you guys can sign up. For you guys on Instagram, it is fixmymoney.org. Okay, fixmymoney.org. I'm putting it in the comments here on YouTube. You can simply click that link. It'll take you right to the it'll take you right there and you can just simply register. Okay, but you have to sign up by tonight. And today, at the time I'm making this video, it is September 4th. Okay, so by the end of the day, September 4th, you need to have signed up for the challenge, or else I have to cut it off, right? Because I have to prepare and make sure that I have everything ready for all the people who are already in. Okay. Fixmymoney. Oh, I'm sorry. I put the wrong link. I'm so sorry. It's fixmymoney.org, not fixmymoney.com. Let me retype it. Fixmymoney.org. Okay. Hopefully y'all can see that. Why is it not showing up? Fixmymoney.org. Okay, there we go. Fixmymoney.org is the website. Okay. All right. Karen says she's returning in October, so she definitely needs a challenge. Yes, Karen, get in the challenge. Okay. If you have not signed up for the challenge, make sure you signed up. All right. Back to what we were talking about. Now, I've told you guys who the Fed is. The Fed is the central bank of the United States, right? The Fed controls the interest rates. Interest rates are at all-time high right now. They're going to be lowered. Now they're cutting interest rates in September, which is this month that I'm making this video. And they're also cutting them by the end of 2025. So by the end of 2025, they're going to cut it down to about 4%. So when we're around 4% or 4% itself, there's a huge difference. And Rick over here on Instagram made a huge point that the average adjustment that the Fed makes when it comes to interest rates is 0.25. So, less than, 0.25 to 0.50. Okay. But they're lowering it by 1.5%. This is an enormous opportunity. Okay. I'm going to put this on the screen. That's the wrong link. Sorry. Here it goes. Fixmymoney.org. So Amici is fixmymoney.org is the website. Thank you for asking again. I'm putting it in the chat one more time. Okay. Fixmymoney.org. Click that link and it'll take you to the challenge. You can sign up at $64. It'll close for real tonight. Okay. All right. So they're lowering it by 1.5%. That is a huge opportunity for you. And here's exactly what you need to do to make sure that you are ready. And here's what to do with your money. Please write this down. Okay. Get yourself a pen, get yourself a paper, record the screen, whatever you got to do, write this down. First thing you need to do, and all of this is before the rates drop. So this is things you need to do today. Okay. First thing is wait to borrow money until all the cuts have been made. They're cutting this month, but they're also cutting at the end of 2025. I know that feels like it's a lifetime away. It's a year, almost it's over a year away. But if you take out money now and you see how much you would save in a little bit over a year, you're going to be extremely disappointed and sad that you're paying so much money. So as much as you can prevent borrowing money right now for any reason, if you can prevent buying a car right now that you would need to finance, don't buy it right now. If you can prevent moving and taking on a mortgage right now, don't buy a house right now. If you can, or apartment or whatever, condo, townhouse, what have you. Okay. If you can prevent, I know we got kids and they graduate when they graduate. So, if your kid has to go to college and you got to take out a loan, you got to do what you got to do. Right. But if you can prevent it, try not to take out a student loan until after the rates have been cut. Maybe you can try to work extra hours or something, or have your kid contribute to funding their college or something. I don't know, but it's going to be a huge price difference at the end of 2025. Personal loans as well. Home equity lines of credit as well. Okay. Business loans. Okay. Because keep in mind, like I told you guys before, the Federal Reserve, they set a floor, they set a certain level that interest rates are going to be. So currently 5.25 to 5.5%. They're going to charge you over and above that. Right. So when you see some credit cards that are like 30% interest or 27% interest, that's not accidental, right? It's not, some of it is based upon your credit worthiness and your credit score. Yes. But a lot of it also is based upon whatever the Federal Reserve has set the bar at. right? So if you are taking out a loan or even borrowing or, getting a new credit card, your rate is likely going to be higher than it will be this time next year. Or I'm sorry, not this time next year, but the end of 2025. Okay. Tiffany says, what about refinancing at a lower rate? Tiffany, I suggest the same thing. I suggest that you wait until the end of next year if you can. Now, I realize some people need to refinance because they need to lower their payments now, right? If you can get a lower rate than you are right now, fine, but you are going to get an even lower rate potentially at the end of next year. So anything that requires your credit score, basically, I would say wait until the end of 2025 because you're going to get a lower rate than what you will already get. Even, and Tiffany, if I recall correctly, you got like an 800 and some odd credit score, girl. So like you golden when it comes to the rates, right? But whatever rate you get is going to be lower still at the end of 2025. Okay. So I suggest waiting if you can. All right. The thing is that lower rates actually make borrowing less expensive, and it can be easier to qualify also. It can be easier to qualify when rates are lower because there's less risk for the banks. Okay. Less risk for the banks means you can probably get a loan easier. All right. So speaking of credit, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to not borrow money unless we absolutely unequivocally have to. And when I say have to, I don't mean, oh, I really want to take this trip with my girls. That's not have to. Have to is my kid has to go to college and I'm not trying to wait until the end of the year for them to go. That's have to, right? Have to is my car literally broke down and I have to drive 30 miles to work and I don't have a way to get there. I can't take the bus. I can't carpool. I need a car, right? But we're still going to be smart about it. And we're going to try and borrow as the least amount possible because we don't want to pay all that interest. Okay. All right. What about upgrading credit card products? Mylonette says, explain to me what you mean. Explain to me in the comments what you mean so I can answer your question with an answer that will suffice. Because I'm not sure what you mean about upgrading credit card products. All right. Once you ask me that, then I'll be able to answer for you. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah. So basically, you're not borrowing any money unless you absolutely, truly, truly, truly have to. If your life will be completely disrupted, not inconvenienced, completely disrupted, then you're going to borrow the money and you're going to borrow the least amount possible. Okay? If you're with me, give me a 5 in the comments. If you're with me, give me a 5 in the comments. Give me a 5 in the comments if you're following. All right. So we're not going to borrow money unless we absolutely, absolutely, absolutely have to. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to improve our credit score. And the reason that we're going to improve our credit score, because I know I told you don't borrow money right now. So why am I telling you to improve your credit score if you're not even borrowing money? That doesn't make sense, right? It makes all the sense. Let me tell you why. Because you want to be ready when interest rates are lower. So if you are not borrowing money right now and you need to borrow money at the end of next year or after the end of next year, you want to get the best rate possible. You want to be like Tiffany with that 800 plus credit score, right? Or at least as close to it as possible, right? Because of course we know, like I said, the Federal Reserve, they set that interest rate bar, but we also know that our credit score will also happen to determine our rate. So someone with an 800 credit score might get let's say an 8% interest rate on something, whereas someone with a 500 credit score may get a 12% interest rate or a 15% interest rate, right? So while we have this opportunity now that we're not borrowing any extra money, okay, then we are going to spend that time improving our credit. And how do you do that? You pay down that debt. And how do you pay down the debt? You got to put a plan in place. We're going to talk about it in the Fix My Money Challenge, right? I don't have time today to go deep into it. We're going to spend a whole entire day on it, actually on day 1 of the Fix My Money Challenge, but you got to pay that debt down. In order to pay the debt down, you have to have a plan, right? Linda says, Let me follow. Linda says, at least for my car goes out January. What should I do? Are you asking if your car goes out in January, what should you do about getting another car? If that's what you're asking, Linda, then like I said earlier, you should get the car, right? If you need a car, but you should buy, but that's a have to have. That's not a nice to have, right? That's not a, oh, I kind of really need a new car. That's not like, oh, I need a Benz. This is like, no, I need a car to get me from point A to point B, right? So like I said, I suggest that you buy the car when you need it, if it's truly a must have before the interest rates go down. However, I don't suggest that you go out and buy your dream car. I suggest that you buy a car that you can afford to pay off relatively quickly, because you're going to be paying a higher interest, much higher interest rate right now or in January than you will at the end of next year. Right. So ideally you'll buy a car that you could, pay off in, relatively soon, depending on what that means for you. Right. You can pay that off relatively quickly, not have to pay a ton of interest on it. And maybe you can turn it in. This is just a thought, depending on how things go, right? You could possibly turn it in and then get the car you really want at the end of next year, right? That's how I would do it if it were me, if I had to buy a car right now. Okay. Oh, okay. Regina says she's asking about her lease being up. With her lease being up, with that said, what do I recommend? Okay, if you are leasing a car, first of all, I don't recommend anybody lease a car in the first place. I don't recommend leases at all, because you're always going to be paying on the car. You never pay it off. You're always, like, you're renting the car, basically. You're always paying the lease. You never own it. So I don't recommend leasing. And most financial experts would not recommend that you lease either, because you never have an opportunity to pay it off. Like right now, my car is paid off, right? I don't pay anything. But had I leased that car, I'd be paying on it for all these years, right? Either way, the car is going to depreciate. Whether you lease it or whether you buy it, the car is going to depreciate regardless. At least if you buy it, at some point, the car gets paid off and you don't have a car note anymore and you just own it free and clear, despite the depreciation. However, if you are leasing a car, you're always going to be paying on it. That car, you could have leased that car at $35,000. And by the time you're done with it, the car is only worth $5,000 and you still paying a lease on it as if it was $30,000. That like the math doesn't math, right? Like when it comes to like really being money smart, right? Linda said, I was going to stop leasing and buy a car. I love that for you, Linda, I love that for you. I love that. I absolutely would recommend buying over leasing. And if you had to buy or lease today, then I would recommend that you buy, period. I would not recommend that you lease anytime, right? But ideally, you would wait until the interest rates are as low as they could possibly be. But if your lease is up and your lease is up in January and you need to make a decision in January, then buy a car. But again, I don't know if you're in the Fix My Money Challenge or not, but here's the thing. The average interest rate as of today is, according to bankrate.com, is $500 a month for a used car and $700 a month for a new car. We're not even talking about brand. Obviously, if you're buying a BMW or a Benz or a Range Rover or whatever, it's going to be even more than that 700. The 700 is like the average car, like a Honda, a Toyota, a Ford, a Chrysler, that kind of stuff, right? So, those cars, new cars are $700 on average. Used cars are $500 on average, right? So if you can get a car, Linda, a car note that's less than that, let's say you got a used car, I would not buy new, because it's going to depreciate. Like the moment you drive it off the lot, it depreciates. We all know that, right? And just mathing the math, it doesn't make sense financially to buy a brand new car. You could buy a car that's a year old, 2 years old, or whatever, and you'll be in a much better financial position given the math on it, right? I use myself as an example. I bought hey, Tim. Tim is here from the Intentional Millionaire Show. I bought a BMW. Y'all, it was beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was so pretty. It was a hard top convertible cherry red BMW. It was gorgeous. You open up the doors and the little BMW logo will be on the ground. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. And I've shared this story with y'all before. I was spending $960 a month on this car because it was a luxury car. So it's over and above the $700 average for a new car. And that car wasn't even new. That car was used. I was spending, so the average used car, no, it's $500. I was spending $960 a month on a used car. Okay? A used car. Didn't make any sense. At least I didn't lease it. I did buy it, but it got so expensive. I was like, forget this. I'm just gonna turn this in. And I already had a paid off car, but I just wanted to flex. That's really what it was. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. Like I wanted to flex. I wanted to, I wanted the hard top, drop top car, and I got it. But that $960 car note was no joke. No joke. It didn't make any sense. And like I've shared before, I did the math on that. I did it here with y'all. Had I taken that same almost $12,000 a year that I was spending on that car and put it into Chipotle when it was $50 a share, not that long ago, I would currently have, when the price of the Chipotle stock went up to $3,200 a share or $3,500 a share, just a couple of, like less than a month ago, I would currently have $32 million in the bank. So was that money well spent because I wanted to flex? No, not at all. And just imagine if I was leasing at that price. I would have been paying that rate forever. So yeah, I agree. Dr. Nicole says leasing is a whole scam. It is. It's a whole scam. Get something pre-owned for sure. Get something pre-owned. So Linda, I hope that answered your question. Let me know. Tiffany's gonna say leasing and luxury vehicles. They're for flexing. Because you don't need that. It just makes you feel good. It just makes you feel good, right? Regina says, wow, I'm making that decision now. My car has been paid off for some years now. I'm at a point of wondering whether I should get another car before it stops working. I'm over 200,000 miles. Thank you. Well, Regina, it really depends on, you're welcome, but it really depends on the type of vehicle you have. Because if you got, I mean, I'm all for Buy American, but if the car lasts past 200,000 miles, like the way that they're making cars, and I say this as someone who used to work at Ford, okay? Who used to work at Ford, who worked at the headquarters, who knows how they build the cars. The way that they're building the cars now, a lot of these cars can get over 200,000 miles easily. Easily. My mic isn't muted. Jeremy, hey, how you doing? My mic's not muted. Other people can hear me. So maybe leave out and come back in. So yeah, so I would say that just because it has 200,000 miles on it doesn't mean that it's necessarily time for a new car, right? I'll be honest, like I have a car, like I told you, it's paid off. And I also bought the BMW, which I ended up turning in, right? Because it was too much. The car that I have is a Camry. And I bought it a couple years old. It was like 2 years old when I bought it. But I've been driving it for a while, and it is like, it's not at 200,000, but it's probably close. And I've never once had a problem with this car. And when I bought the car, it had like 20 some thousand miles on it. I drive a lot. I drive a lot. So I'm driving from here to back home where I'm from, which is several hours away. I drive up north a lot. I like to drive. I drive a lot, right? So it went from 20,000 to probably like 170 some thousand miles on it. 180 some thousand miles on it. I ain't never had a single problem. I've never had to take it to the shop. Only time I take it to the shop is for oil changes and tire rotations and new tires. That's it. So my point is that, like, just because and by the way, I should add this in here, the average seven-figure, I'm not really a seven-figure earner. The average person who has a seven-figure net worth is not driving a luxury vehicle. They're driving a Camry like me, or they're driving a Honda or a Ford or a Toyota or whatever. They're driving a normal car, right? Because it doesn't make sense to buy something that is going to depreciate so quickly and spend a whole lot of money on it. So I just say all that to say that the people who are generally buying like those super luxury cars, they're generally not the people who you're looking to be, right? They're not that. So don't feel like, oh, you got to go out and ball out on a new car. You don't, right? And I do not plan on getting another car because I love my little Camry and she gets me where I need to go. She looks great and she is rolling. I had no problem. So Regina, again, just because the car has 200,000 miles on it, depending on the quality of the car, how well you've taken care of it, have you gotten your oil changes? Have you gotten your tire rotations? Have you done all the things that you need to do as an owner? You probably are good. You're probably just fine. I saw somebody say, so Jackie says that she just hit 200,000 miles on her Camry and she probably is just fine. You know, Regina says, I don't know how you popped up in my text messages. You rock. I'm so thankful. It's a Lexus hybrid. The battery is making me wonder because they cost so much. I got you. Well, I'm glad I popped up in your text messages, Regina. Thank you for joining. The Lexus hybrid, the batteries make you wonder. Well, could you just replace the battery? Does it require like a whole new car? Does it? And here's the other thing. While we're on this topic, your emergency savings account, your high yield savings account will prevent you from having to buy a new car unless you actually have to. So if you have the money in your high yield savings account, which we're going to talk about in the Fix My Money Challenge, right? Getting you together and getting you a plan to be able to do that, then, you know, you might be able to afford it without having to take on a new car. Okay. Regina says that they cost $8,000. Okay. So if they cost $8,000, is it worth taking on a whole new car note that might be $30,000? I can't answer that question for you, right? You have to answer that question for yourself. But is it like, let's say you had to borrow money. Could you pay off $8,000 and the car be fine for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and you only pay $8,000? And maybe you took out a loan or put it on a credit card. I wouldn't tell you to put it on a credit card. Let's say a personal loan or whatever, right? To pay off $8,000 versus buying another Lexus hybrid, if that's what you wanted, which I'm going to guess is $30,000 plus, right? Lexus is a, mid-range luxury car. $30,000, $40,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm probably going to take the 8,000, especially in this economy, because again, interest rates are about to be low, but they're not low right now. And if I need to borrow money to afford the $8,000, I would much rather borrow money for that than to borrow money to buy a brand new car, because the battery itself is not going to depreciate. The car is going to continue to depreciate, but the battery is going to do what it does, right? The battery, it doesn't have like a value like that. But the car, you could spend $40,000 on the car, and in 2 years, the car is going to be worth like 25. You know what I'm saying? So, like, think about it like that. Like, just pure math. That's what I mean when I say, like, handling money is it's real simple, right? Because 1 + 1 always equals 2, unless you're Terrence Howard, who said 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. But that's a different story, right? Either way, 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. So if you're like, well, I got $8,000 versus $40,000 here, which one's going to make more sense? Which one can I pay off faster? Which one's going to cost me less interest? It's always going to be the 8,000. And if that's going to keep your car it's actually going to keep your car at a good pace or rates or, quality or whatever, you can still drive it. It still looks good. All that sort of stuff. Girl, I would spend $8,000 every single day of the week. Outside of that, I said that wrong. If I had to choose, I would choose to spend the $8,000 every single day of the week as opposed to spending money on a brand new car. All right. You are so welcome. You are so welcome, my dear. I hope you make the best decision for yourself. And I hope you join the Fix My Money Challenge, because we'll talk about all this kind of stuff in the challenge. Amechi says, how about you lease it under your business license? Here's the thing. As a business owner of several businesses, right? People always tend to say, well, you could just put it on your business. You can write it off. Yeah, but you still got to pay it, right? Like, sure, you can write it off in taxes, but you can't write off the full amount. If I put something on my business taxes, I can't write off the full amount of whatever I paid, right? And at the end of the day, I still have to pay it. And because I'm the business owner, I personally still have to pay it. It may not come out of my personal check, but the money that I make in my business, it still has to go to that. You know what I mean? So either way, whether I am personally taking out a car loan or if I'm taking out a car and I'm putting it in my business name, Gwen still has to pay that bill. Somehow, some way, the money's got to come from something that Gwen generated. You feel me? And so if I'm doing that, I still want to make sure that I am paying the least amount of interest and that I'm paying the least amount of money as possible, regardless if it's a business expense or if it's a personal expense. Because here's the thing that people don't think about when folks tell you, well, borrow money for your business. It's okay. As someone who borrowed money for the business, for a business that failed, which I have shared the story before, right? I borrowed hundreds of thousands of dollars to fund this business that I started, and the business didn't even last 2 years. Guess who still had to pay those bills when that business failed? It was me. Gwen was still fully responsible for that hundreds of thousands of dollars when that business did not exist anymore. So again, regardless of how you swing it or how you finagle it, you still got to pay that bill, right? So you can I would never lease it, period, Amechi. I wouldn't care if it was a business expense or if it was a personal expense. Don't lease at all. At all. Buy. And you can choose to buy it under your business or your personal, but I would never lease. Leasing is a scam. You will always be paying on it. You will never pay it off. You will never be free and clear from it. You will always have a bill. And if we're talking about being debt free, you can't be debt free if you got a car lease because you always gonna have a bill. All right. So the other thing that people don't tell you about borrowing money for a business, they say, well, borrow your money, use other people's money to fund your business. That sounds great. It sounds like a fantastic concept. But there is only one guarantee when you borrow money, is that it's got to be paid back. One guarantee. If the business succeeds, you're in luck because hopefully your business expenses can cover the cost of whatever it is that you purchased. But if that business fails, that guarantee is still there and you still got to pay it. So I wouldn't borrow money at all, especially with these interest rates being what they are. So I hope that made sense. Bottom line is don't lease a car. Okay. Don't lease a car. If you can, you should never lease a car. Just buy a car. I think I saw somebody ask something. Oh, Regis asked a couple questions and I want to address them. Regis says, why do you think interest rates will fall and if next year? I don't think they're going to fall. I know they're going to fall because the Federal Reserve announced that they're going to fall. Right. So this is not speculation. This is what's going to happen. Right. So the Federal Reserve, Regis, you might have joined after we originally started. The Federal Reserve, which is the Central Bank of the United States, has announced that they are lowering interest rates by 1.5%, which is a huge difference because the average drop or increase that they give is 0.25 to 0.5. So for them to be dropping rates all the way down by 1.5% is huge, right? So they've announced it. So again, for anybody who's watching who wasn't here at the beginning, this is not speculation. This is actually happening. They are actually lowering interest rates first in September when I'm making this video, and they're going to lower it again at the end of 2025. Okay, so that's how I know that. But thank you for asking. That's a great question. And then you also says Chipotle is how much a share? So Chipotle is not. It was like $3,500 a share, like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago from the time I'm making this video. It's not anymore because they did a price split. So they just split and they basically allowed, I did a whole video on this. Like y'all can go look on my channel, look for Chipotle, you'll find it. They did a split, a stock split. And when they did the stock split, they basically cut the stock 50 to 1. So the stock went from like $3,500 down to like something more reasonable, right? To allow more people to be able to afford Chipotle stock, basically, right? But it was $3,500. And so, like I had said, if at that time I had put my money into that $12,000 I was paying for that car, if I put that money into Chipotle stock when it was only $50 a share and then it rose up to $3,500, I would have $32 million today. And we did that math right here on the Get Money Show live. And when we did it, I was dumbfounded. Like I didn't even know that until I had done the math. And I was like, what the hell? What the heck? Crazy. Right? Regis says, do I think the wave is going to rise again? I don't know. I mean, for Chipotle, maybe. I mean, it rose before. If it does rise that high again, I think it'll be a very, very long time. But this is why it's important to get in when you can, right? Let's see. Okay, so let's get back into Luella has a question. Exactly what is the Fix My Money challenge about? Sorry, I'm new to this site. You are Just fine, Luella. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for joining. So the Fix My Money Challenge is a 5-day money boot camp, essentially, for people who are looking to improve their finances. If you feel like you are not financially free for any reason, that could be because you have debt that you are having trouble paying off. That could be because if an emergency were to happen right now that requires you to spend a lot of money, you may not have the money. Like I was just talking to Regina a second ago, and she was saying, hey, I may need to get a new car, and the battery's going to cost $8,000. If she had $8,000 in her emergency savings account, she could buy that battery today, right? She could buy that battery today. She wouldn't have to get a brand new car, and she'd continue to be car debt free, right? For example. But how do you put that into play? How do you save up this money, and how do you maximize it? How do you build passive income easily, which is one reason why you guys need to be in the Fix My Money Challenge, because right now the interest rates are as high as they're going to be probably for a long time. They're at a 20-year high right now. How do you maximize that? How do you save $5,000 a year without even realizing it, without disrupting your lifestyle at all? We're going to talk about it in the Fix My Money Challenge, right? I'm going to teach you guys exactly what to do, how to do it, how to set it up so that it's coming out of your check account automatically and you don't even have to halfway realize it, because it's just moving so easily and so smoothly, right? Without you having to be like, dang, I can't even buy my favorite latte today, or I can't even go out with my girls this weekend, or I can't do all that. No, you're going to continue to have your lifestyle. You're going to continue to have the life that you want and that you already have, but you're just going to be maximizing your money in a better way, right? So that will happen in the Fix My Money Challenge. Also, retirement. Retirement is coming for whether we are 65 today or beyond, or whether we are 25 today. It's coming at some point. And there are no loans. There are no grants for retirement, unlike student loans, right? So what you have is what you have. If you don't have it, you just out of luck, right? We cannot rely on the government to provide us with Social Security because it's reducing every single year, right? The millennials here, and even those folks who might be Gen Zers, I don't even know if we're going to have Social Security, right? So how do you ensure that the money that you've saved for retirement, or if you have no money to save for retirement, right? How do you ensure that that money gets you to 7 figures? Because that's what you're going to need in order to retire comfortably, right? How do you do that? How do you live on just the interest? How can you ensure that you are maximizing your money enough so that you get to just live on the interest and never touch the principal, right? And anybody can do it. You just got to know how to do it. So all of that will happen in the Repair Your Hair Challenge. Okay. Amechi says, more fixing our credit, please. Yeah, more about fixing our credit, please. Yes. That will happen as well. Not in, did I say Repair Your Hair Challenge? I meant Fix My Money Challenge. Repair My Hair Challenge is a different challenge I've done. But yes, credit fixing and all that sort of stuff will come for those of you who continue on watching the show and all that sort of stuff after the Fix My Money Challenge. Okay. But in order to fix my money, the first thing we got to do and fix our credit is to get out of debt. Right. So that's where we were on the second thing that guys should be doing for your money during this time. You should be working on fixing your credit. The best thing you can do to fix your credit is to get rid of your debt. And you have to create a plan. You cannot just say, okay, I'm gonna get out of debt, because how's that been working for you? As long as you've been saying that you're gonna get out of debt, how many of you have actually done it successfully and quickly? And by quickly, I mean within a year and a half. How many, if you have paid off your debt, all your debt, excluding your mortgage, and I'm talking student loans, I'm talking about all the loans that you don't really count. Like some of us don't really count our student loans because it's good debt. Listen, debt is debt is debt is debt is debt. Debt is debt. Your credit score, you don't get points for it being good debt, right? It is what it is. Like if you owe it and you're past due on it, your credit score is going down. So we've been like sold this kind of like idea that like there's good debt and there's bad debt, and it's better if we get good debt. Like, sure, it probably makes us feel better, but at the end of the day, we still got to pay it back, right? So how many of you have actually paid off all of your debt, excluding your mortgage, in 1.5 years or less? I don't see any hands, right? Right? And so that's the point, right? The point is that in order to maximize this moment, when interest rates are high and they're going to be lower, in order for you to fix your credit, you got to create a plan to get out of debt quickly. I'm sorry, Dr. Nicole. I didn't mean repair my hair challenge. I'm so used to saying repair your hair challenge because I've been saying that for 2 or 3 years when I was teaching it with Naturalicious. That is foreign to me to say fix my money, but I got to get back in the mindset of saying fix my money. I meant fix my money challenge. I haven't done the repair your hair challenge in about a year and a half. Thank you for calling me out on that. So Danny says, I was good after 2020. Then she got a car, then she went on vacation, and then she's back in debt, right? So one thing that I want to make sure that I'll just impart this onto you guys, is I want you to avoid taking on debt for things that you can save for. So like Danny said, vacation, right? I don't want any of you ever again. Please promise me this. You're not going to go on vacation and bring the debt back with you, right? We're going to save for that because you didn't went on vacation. Let's say you went on vacation in 2021. It's 2024 and you still paying on it. The vacation long gone. The good vibes are gone. The drinks are gone. You didn't consume the drinks. You didn't consume the food, right? And you still paying on the vacation, right? Promise me that you're not going to do that. Okay? Promise you're not going to do that. Don't take your vacation. Don't bring your vacation debt back home. All right? But again, if we have debt in other areas, it's hard for us to save for vacations, right? I don't believe in not going on vacation, but I do believe in making sure that we are funding these things with cash so that we don't bring the debt back. Because let's say your vacation was $2,000. By the time you're done paying on the debt, the vacation will cost you $4,000, double the cost because of the interest, right? Like, again, the math ain't mathing. We got to make the math, right? And so we have to make sometimes difficult decisions, but we have to do what most people won't do today so we can live like most people can't tomorrow, right? That's where the FU money comes in. Do what most people will not do right now so that you can live like most people cannot later. Okay? All right. So we're going to reduce our debt. All right? We're reducing our debt. We're paying off our bills. We're getting that out of the way. We're going to create the debt snowball in the Fix My Money Challenge. All right? You guys are going to see the whole light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that I can actually pay this off at this rate. Now, of course, the more debt you have, the longer it's going to take you. If someone has $4,000 worth of debt, they're not going to take as long to pay it off as someone with $40,000. Okay. So I can't guarantee you that everybody's going to be able to pay it off in 4 months, 5 months, 10 months or whatever, but you will be able to pay it off significantly faster than whatever you've been doing right now. Because whatever you're doing right now isn't working. Okay. And I say this as someone who had, like I told you, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt from a business that didn't work out. And I created a plan, and that plan, I'm going to teach you guys that same plan. That plan allowed me to pay off $147,000 in 8 months. $147,000 in 8 months. Okay. And I still went on a vacation during that time, but I didn't bring it back with me. That was paid for in cash. Okay. Tim says vacation should not be fun while you're there and a nightmare when you get back. I know, right? No. Same thing with weddings, right? Or even funerals, right? I know people who have been married 10 years and they still pay on their wedding. Might be divorced and still paying on the wedding. We don't want that, okay? We're going to make smart decisions with our money. I think I saw Regina say something. I want to pull it up. Oh, Regina says, I'm enjoying the challenge when we get off. I'm there. I love it for you. I love it for you, Regina. For those of you who have not, who are still interested in joining, it is fixmymoney.org. Today is going to be the last day. It's already sold out, but I'm opening up more spots because, again, I want to help as many people as possible. So it's fixmymoney.org. Okay. If you are interested in joining the challenge, we start on Monday. Orientation is on Sunday. So we're going to get into it. Okay. All right. So let's run it back. Number one that you're going to do right now is you're not going to borrow any money unless you absolutely super duper have to. Okay. Not like to, not, hey, I want to take this trip. Not, hey, I want to buy this luxury car. Not, hey, I really like this outfit and it's kind of expensive, but I'm gonna borrow money on it and take, use my credit card. No, that's not a must have. I told you what must haves are. Must haves are situations, you have to do the money right now. You have to pay it right now. You got to send your kid to college. You don't want to delay it for a year and a half, right? You got to pay that. You literally have no way to get around because your car is messed up and you need a new car. You're going to do that, right? But you're going to borrow the least amount of money as you can. That's first thing. Second thing is we're going to work to get out of debt, and we're going to work to fix our credit scores. Whatever our credit score is, if it ain't 50, if it isn't 850, it can always be improved. So if your if your credit score is 400, 500, of course it can be improved. If your credit score is 800, you can still make it higher, right? You can still try, right? But obviously, if you have a 750 credit score or above, you're likely going to get the best rates. Okay. So don't feel pressured if you don't have an 850 credit score, but you want to get as high as possible. So we're striving for 750 and above. Okay. We're trying to get it there. Nancy says, are you from Periscope? Nancy, I was on Periscope when Periscope was a thing. I was on there. Do you remember me from Periscope? If so, hey, I used to love Periscope. I was like one of the first major Periscopers, I guess, so to speak. And then Facebook decided to start offering live streaming, and Periscope went away. But yes, I was on Periscope back in the day, several years ago. All right. So number 2 is improve your credit score. You're going to reduce your debt, make a plan so that when the rates drop at the end of next year, you will be in the best position to borrow the money that you might need to borrow. Okay. And the third thing that I want you to do is I want you to take advantage of passive income opportunities with high yield savings accounts. Because like I mentioned, when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, right? When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, everything else goes up as well. So mortgage rates go up, car loan rates go up, student loan rates go up, so do personal and business loan rates go up. But when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates and interest rates are high, guess what always goes up? Guess what also goes up? The rates on high yield savings accounts. This is why rich people, the average 7-figure net worth person, loves when the economy has high interest rates because they are not borrowing money anyway. They're out of debt. They have their emergency savings set up. They're making hella passive income on those high yield savings accounts. So currently, I think Regis said that my high yield savings account video was golden, and I appreciate you for that so very much. Your video on the HYSA was gold. I appreciate that. So the average high yield savings account right now is getting 5%. The ones that I provided you guys are all over and above that average of 5%, right? As high as 5.25%. Now, the average traditional savings account is 0.45%, which is less than 1% for the same money that you would put into a traditional account versus a high yield savings account. So you're literally 10xing your money just by moving it from one place to another and doing nothing else. Passive income, right? Hello. If you like passive income, type hello in the comments. Type hello in the comments if you like passive income, where you literally don't do anything extra and you are just chilling and you're making 10 times more money. I love it. I love it. Hello, says Katie. Hello, says Dora. Right? It's all the things. I literally call my high yield savings account my sugar daddy because I can live off of the interest of it. I don't have to touch the principal. I can leave the principal alone. And if that high yield savings account earns me, let me rephrase that. I don't live off of the interest, right? But I buy what I would call depreciating things from the interest, right? So let's say if I wanted like this really bomb bag. I'm not even a bag person, but let's say I was, right? And I want to buy a beautiful luxury bag, for example, or something. I would buy that with the interest earned from the high yield savings account because that's just extra income that, I can either leave an account or I can go and buy something that I like for myself. I can take a vacation with it. I can do whatever I want with it, right? But I'm never touching the principal. So it's always earning money, even when I'm not even putting any more money into it. And the more money I put into it, the more interest it earns passively with me doing nothing. And I'm going to maximize this moment because right now I can get 5.25, maybe even higher sometimes right now while interest rates are high. But when interest rates are lower, guess what? Those rates are going to come down too. And so while we are in this moment right now where everything is higher, interest rates on things that you would pay for and interest rates on things that you would earn, now is the absolute best time for you to make sure that you have the best high yield savings account that you can. Now, I realize a lot of us have high yield savings accounts already, but you got to make sure that you are in one that is not going to give you a bunch of fees. They have some that can get you as high as like 5.9%, but they come with a bunch of monthly fees. And I don't believe in paying fees, right? And if the fees, and we have to do the math. The math has to math. 1 + 1 always equals 2, right? So if the math is telling me that, yeah, I can get 5.9% versus 5.25, but if that difference in interest earned is less than the monthly fee, then it doesn't make sense to be over there with the 5.9, right? So they'll entice you in and say like, oh, we can give you 6% interest or 5.7% interest. Sure, but what comes with that, right? What are the what's the word I'm looking for? What's the fine print, right? Keep this in mind as well. God just said, tell me to tell y'all this. Keep in mind that, remember, the Federal Reserve rate is 5.25 to 5.5%. Put that in your mind, okay? Now, remember what I told you earlier when we first started. That rate is what the banks charge each other in order to borrow money from each other overnight. Okay? In order for the banks to make a profit, they have to charge you more than that because banks are in the money. They are in the money, but banks are in the business of making money, right? So they're going to charge you more interest, which is why you'll pay 30%, 25%, 20% for a credit card, even though the bank is only having to pay 5.25% or 5.5% right now, right? The bank is going to charge you 9%, 10% for a home equity line of credit, even though they only have to pay 5.25%, right? That's how much they're charging you. Now, on the flip side of that, when it comes to paying you, you're going to be hard pressed to find a bank that doesn't come with any fees and no minimums and is going to pay you more than they're paying. You following me? Because they got to make money. So if they are being charged 5.25%, they can't reasonably pay you 7%. Feel me? Does that make sense? This is how math works. This is how the math works with these banks, right? They can't afford to do that. They can only pay you at most what they're paying in order to break even on that, right? So again, if a bank is going to pay you and offer you anything over and above what the Fed is charging them, or what the Fed says that what the bar is, you got to ask yourself, well, what are the fees? Because that doesn't make sense. Math has to math. Banks are in the business to make money. If you paying me 5.9%, but you being charged 5.2, how are you making up that difference? And it's going to be in fees every single time. There's no way that you wouldn't have to pay fees. So there's some people who are like, well, my bank gives me, 5.9 or 6%. Okay, but they still the math has to math. They still got to make a profit. So if they're paying 5.25%, or let's say 5.5%, right? But they're paying that, but they're giving you 5.9, more than likely the monthly fees that you're going to have to pay are going to be more than the interest that they're going to pay. Are going to be more than the difference between that 5.25 and the 5.9. And at that point, it only makes sense to go with the 5.25%. So a lot of times when you look at my videos on high yield savings accounts, you'll hear me say, you could get 5.3 over here, but it's a $40 a month fee, or it's a $7 a month fee, or whatever. And over the course of the year, it doesn't make sense, right? So you got to make sure that you are thinking about this from their perspective, which is why I like to train you guys and teach you guys. It's not just what's in front of you. you really have to like think like the banks, right? You have to think how they do, because if you don't, you might think that you're getting a deal when you're actually losing out, right? Linda says, if I can get a CD for 5.2% a year, should I take my money out of my savings and put it in a CD? So here's my thing about CDs, Linda. And I've actually put this in my high yield savings account video. I don't like CDs because, for those of you who don't know, CDs are certificates of deposits. Certificates of deposit. They're essentially a vehicle for you to store your money. I don't like CDs because I like to be able to get to my money when I want to get to my money. I don't want to wait. If I need it today, I need it today. If I haven't, first of all, your emergency savings account should be in your savings account. So whether it's a CD, a high yield savings account, a money market, or whatever, that's where your emergency savings account goes. And your emergency savings account is going to be 6 months of your living expenses at least. Okay. So let's say, for math purposes, let's say it cost you $3,000 to live. Multiply that times 6, you're going to have $18,000. You need to have $18,000 in an emergency savings account if anything goes wrong, right? At minimum. Ideally, you'll have a year, but 6 months is fine. Okay. So if you got $18,000 at 5.2%, right, you're going to be doing pretty good. However, let's say an emergency occurs, because what are emergencies? Emergencies are things that we don't plan. Emergencies are Regina's car not working out. She needs $8,000 to buy a battery because she got to get to work tomorrow. That's an emergency, right? Emergencies are not vacations. They're not cute clothes. They're not nights out with your friends, right? They're true emergencies. We don't expect them to happen. I made a video in the Get Money show, Get Money crew, a few weeks ago. My laptop died, like out the blue. My whole livelihood is on my laptop. I run all my businesses from my laptop. If I don't have a laptop, I can't serve the people who I serve, right? I can't do that. And I also can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay my bills, right? Like, because I need to make money, right? And so my laptop died, but because I have an emergency savings account, I just went to my emergency. Like, I panicked for a little bit, like, oh my God, I gotta buy a new laptop. I wasn't expecting this. Why are you not working, laptop? Like, I'm trying to salvage the laptop. And then I realized, oh, I actually have an emergency savings account with the money in the bank. And so I went to the emergency savings account and I got it out and I paid for it. Now, had that money been in the CD, Linda, I wouldn't have been able to get it, because a CD, they're holding your money for a length of time. They're holding your money for anywhere from 6 months to sometimes up to 3 years or more, depending on the what the terms are of the CD, right? And so if I have an emergency, if my laptop dies, I can't afford to wait 6 months to buy a laptop, right? Because then what happens if I have to wait? Now I got to go borrow from my credit cards, and now I'm back in debt, defeating the whole purpose of what I created an emergency savings account for. You feel me? Does that make sense to you guys? If that makes sense, give me this emoji, like the okay emoji. Give me the okay emoji if that makes sense to you, right? That's why I don't like CDs. With high yield savings accounts, it's liquid, which means that I can get to it whenever I need to. I don't have to worry about it. If my son breaks his leg today, I can go to my emergency savings account and I can take the money out and pay for his medical bill. If it's in a CD, I may have to wait 2 years to get that money. You know, like, no. And so I don't like CDs. And the other thing I don't like about CDs, another reason why I don't feel like CDs are even worth it, Linda, is because you can get the same rate in a high yield savings account. Right? So if I were you, to answer your question, should you take it out your CD and put it in a savings account? I would absolutely put it in a savings account, because you want to be able to get to your money when you need to get to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, having to wait 6 months, 2 years. And another thing to remember, why the CD is giving you the rate that it is because the bank is borrowing your money, right? The bank is borrowing your money to fund other people's loans. So if Katie decides that she wants to take out a mortgage, Linda, they're going to go to someone like you and borrow your money to fund Katie's mortgage, but they're going to charge Katie more than they're going to give to you. And so the longer your money is in the bank, sitting in the bank, which is why CDs do what they do, the longer the money is in, the longer the money is in the bank, the more opportunity they have to like have it locked up. Like, it's guaranteed money for them, basically, because you can't get it out. And the only way you can get it out is, guess what? A fee. Of course, right? So the only way you can get your money out earlier than you signed up for is to pay them a fee for your own money. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, right? It's my money. I put it in here and I got to pay a fee to get it out. I don't think so, right? So that's why I suggest high yield savings accounts. So Linda, if I were you, I would not take the money out right now. I would take it out when the term is up because you don't want to pay a fee, right? I would wait till my term is up. I would take it out of there and I'll put it into a high yield savings account because you can still get that same 5.25%. You can still get the same 5.25%. Hey, Nasette, you can still get the same 5.2%, if not more, at a high yield savings account. And you don't have to be beholden to your money being stuck at the bank so they can borrow it and make more money off of it. And it's being locked up for a period of time. That's what I would do. Let me know if that answers your question. Ameche says, do you invest money in your high yield savings account into the stock market? No, you don't. High yield savings account it's not a brokerage account, right? Your high yield savings account is literally a savings account. That is all it is. Now you will have a separate brokerage account, right? Which we talked about here on the Get Money Show, which we will talk about in the Fix My Money Challenge as well, right? But your high yield savings account is the money that's in your high yield savings account is your emergency savings. That is 6 months of your living expenses that you've saved up over time, right? And that money we don't want that money going down. We would love for it to go up, but we don't want that money going down, which the stock market can do. And so therefore, that's the money that's in the emergency savings. That's in the high yield savings. That's all that's in there. You don't need to you can have another savings if you want to, but you don't need to. For me personally, what I suggest is you pay off your debt. You create your emergency savings account. You have 6 months to 12 months of living expenses in that high yield savings account. After that's done, you then start to put money into a brokerage account. And that's where you invest in the stock market. High yield savings accounts don't have stock market. There's no option to invest your HYSA in the stock market. So you leave that money in there and then you open up a brokerage account. And that's where you're investing your money in the stock market. And we will talk about all of that super extensively in the Fix My Money Challenge. Okay. But that's where you're going to do. So that's a great question, Amechi. Amechi, I'm glad that you asked it because somebody else might have been wondering the same thing, but you can't invest. There's no way for you to do so. If you think about a high yield savings account, like a traditional savings account. If you go to your bank right now and you say, hey, I want to open a savings account, do they give the option to put that money in stocks? No, right? Because it's just a savings account. So a high yield savings account is the same thing as a traditional savings account. The only difference is that you earn more money. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't make sense to even be in a traditional savings account because you're doing the exact same work, but you're making 10 times more, right? And your money should be working just as hard for you as the bank's money is working for them because they're borrowing your money to fund other people's loans. Like I said, if Katie wants to take out a mortgage, they're borrowing they're coming to your bank account and they're borrowing that money and they're loaning it to Katie. The bank is never coming out of his own money, right? It's coming out of all of us. All of us with bank accounts, they're borrowing a little bit here and there from everybody's account to give over to them. And that's why they pay you interest because they're borrowing your money. They're not paying you interest because they like you, because they have nothing better to do with their money. They're paying you interest because they're borrowing your money. Borrowing is such a hard word to say. Borrowing your money, right? Did y'all know that? Did y'all know, outside of those of you who have been here for a while when I've been saying it, but did the rest of you know that that's why you get paid interest, right? They're not just paying you interest to entice you. They're paying you because they're literally borrowing your money, which is what you do. Like when you borrow, you pay interest to people. However, a traditional savings account is going to pay you peanuts, less than 1% in comparison to a high yield savings account. So don't even have a traditional savings account. It's for the birds. Move over to a high yield savings account and you'll make 10 times more money without doing any extra work. Okay. Regis says, does the HYSA pay out each month for interest? Yes, it does. However, this is a great question. Yes, your HYSA pays out each month for interest. However, your interest rate that you receive is an annual percentage rate, is APY. So it's annual percentage yield. So that's how much you will earn over the course of a year. And then they will pay you monthly, like they'll break it up monthly, right? So obviously the more money you put in over the course of the year, the more interest you're going to earn. But yes, you get paid monthly for your interest. Yes. Great question. Regis says, I just opened a high yield savings account after seeing your video. I went with Genius. The rate was 5.25, but the math seemed off after the first month. That's probably because you were calculating that 5.25 each month, right? So if you have, let me do some quick math here real quick. Let me pull out my calculator. So if you had, $10,000 in there, right? And you got 5.25% on that, you're probably expecting to earn $525 every month. That's not how it works. Your interest rate is, yes. Oh, now I get it. It's 5.25% annually. Yes. It's an annual rate, right? So if you start out, let's say you start out with $10,000 in the bank, and that's a big number. Let's say $1,000, right? Because most people are going to start with like somewhere $500 to $1,000, right? So you start out with $1,000 and you earn 5.25% interest on that $1,000. That's only $52.50, right? But let's say over the course of the year, you're able to save another, you get up to $10,000 because you're saving in the way that I teach you to save, right? So now instead of 1,000, you add that 1,000 to 10,000. Now you've got $11,000, right? So now you've got $11,000, right? Times 5.25%. And now you earn $577, right? So that's literally 10 times more just by having your money over there. However, keep in mind $577, right? If you took that same $11,000 and you put it in a traditional savings account that earns you 0.45%, you earn $4.95. $4.95 in a traditional savings account versus $577, almost $600 in a high yield savings account. I mean, it don't make sense to be in a traditional savings account. You can earn $5 versus almost $600. The math always maths, right? So I love money because it's not subjective. Like I love art as well. Like catch me at a museum any day, right? But like art is so subjective, right? It's like, well, how does someone interpret it? Does someone think it's valuable? Does someone not think it's valuable? Like money is like A plus B is C, like every single time, right? Like there's no subjectivity around it. And so there's no question that it makes more sense to be in a high yield savings account versus a traditional savings account because you're doing nothing different. You're literally just moving your money from one place to another, doing nothing else. And you made $600 versus $5, right? Do I know of any high yield savings accounts that don't require direct deposits? When you say direct deposit, do you mean like direct deposit from your check? Or do you mean like you being able to, like, you don't want to have to connect your other bank account? Is that what you mean? Like, because the way most of them work is that you have to connect it to a traditional like checking account. Like you have to move the money over there. So all of them are going to require that. But I don't know any that requires like direct deposit as in like you have to directly deposit your check into there, like your paycheck. So let me know what you mean. Yeah, so Regis says to LaShawn, he said that Genius doesn't require direct deposit in their online. I guess Genius is the bank that I use, the bank I recommend. But that may change when the interest rates go down. We'll see what Genius is offering when the interest rates go down. But right now, they're offering one of the highest interest rates with no fees and no minimums. A lot of these other high yield savings accounts, they'll offer a high rate and maybe minimum or no fees, but they'll offer with no fees, but they'll offer like a required minimum, right? So it'll be like some stupid number, like $45,000 minimum, or your rate goes down. And it's like the average person's not going to have $45,000 in there, right? So it's almost like they're giving you enough to like make you want to come over, but it's like unsustainable for most people, right? Or it may be like another high number, like 10,000. Well, that might be sustainable, but you also got to get there, right? So if you're starting your high yield savings account with $500, it's going to take you some time to get to 10,000. So you don't even get the good rate that they're offering until you hit 10,000. Who knows? That could take you over a year. That could take you over 2 years, depending on how you swing it. So it's like, sure, you're offering this high rate, but I only get it with these contingencies. And that's why I don't like a lot of these banks that have these like higher interest rates that are over and above what the federal rate is charging them, because I know it's a scam. I know every single time you charging me some fees or you charging me some stupid minimum. So, you got to keep that in mind. For those of you who have high yield savings accounts already, I want you to go and make sure you don't have any fees, because they're not going to tell you about the fees. They're just going to take it out of your account. And I also want you to double check the minimums on that. And even when you do have a high yield savings account that has a high rate, I want you to be checking it every quarter or so. Just go to the website and see what the interest rate is, because they're not going to send you an email to notify you that they lowered the interest rate, but they will lower them because it's always a variable rate. It's never fixed. So it's always variable, and they may lower the rate and you don't even know it. And so right now I suggest Genius, but let Genius start tripping and go from 5.25 to like 4.9, and I can get something better over here with BMO or Ally, right? With no fees and no minimums, it's nothing to switch over. So you don't have to be married to these banks, because they're not married to you. Because as soon as you don't pay your bill on time, they sure are hitting your credit. Okay. So let's run it back. So I told all you guys interest rates are going to be lowered. This is a big deal. Okay. This is the recap for those who were not on when I started. Interest rates are going to be lowered. I know this because the federal government said so, right? So the Fed has announced. They don't make these announcements with speculation. They don't say, oh, we think we're going to lower it. They said we're going to lower it. They're going to lower it this month, and they're going to lower it again by the end of 2025. It is in your best interest to wait until the end of 2025 in order to do the following: borrow money. Don't borrow any money unless you have to. And y'all know what I mean by have to, right? You absolutely have to. Not I really would like to, not this seems like a good idea at the moment, not this is like my life is going to be completely disrupted and I cannot function the way that I need to because I haven't borrowed this money. That's the only reason that you're going to be borrowing money right now, okay? Patience is a virtue, right? I don't have a whole lot of it. So I've had to teach myself to be more patient, right? So again, remember I said growing money, earning money, all of that is very simple in theory, but it's not easy because it requires discipline, patience, and consistency. Okay. And we're going to work on all of those. Federal Reserve is lowering rates. Don't borrow any money right now. Wait until the end of 2025 when all the rates are low. You can simply go to the Federal Reserve's website at any point to see what their interest rate is at any time. You can even just simply Google, what is the Federal Reserve interest rate right now? And it'll tell you. So it's not like something that's top secret. It's not anything that you can't find easily. You can look these things up yourself at any point, okay? The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to work on your credit. You're going to not borrow any money. And in the meantime, you're going to work on paying off the debts that you have, okay? If you need help with any of that, then you can join the Fix My Money Challenge, which is fixmymoney.org. It is being opened up today. I just opened it back up today because it was closed for like the past couple weeks, right? Because it sold out. Like there's a couple hundred people in there already. And like it is important to me that every single person in this challenge gets exactly what they came for, right? Like I don't want just a whole bunch of people in there and like people are lost and confused because it's just too many people for me to work with. But because this interest rate thing has come, and I know this is a prime opportunity for you right now, I'm opening it back up and it's going to close tonight. So if you want in, well, any of this sounds good to you. Paying off your debt sounds great. Paying it off within a faster amount of time, building up your emergency savings, all that stuff sounds great. Join the Fix My Money Challenge. It's only $64. Okay. So you're not going to borrow any money. You're going to pay down your debt, improve your credit score. Okay. You will improve your credit score also by not borrowing, right? Because every time that you borrow money, it shows up on your credit report as you have borrowed more money. You always want to keep your credit utilization below 35%. So, for example, if you have a $10,000 available credit amount on your credit card, you don't want to borrow any more than $3,500 at a time. If you get to $3,500, You will not improve your credit score if you go over it. All right. So pay that down before you use more on it. So 35% or less will help you build that credit score back up. Paying it off altogether will help you even better. Regina says, I'm on the site now. Am I missing it? How long and when are the sessions? You're missing what, Regina? You're missing the link to sign up? Is that what you're saying? You should be able to click the button that says, hold on. Let me go to the website. So there's a button that says register now. You click register now and it'll take you to it. I'll share my screen and I'll show you what I mean. So Regina, the question is how long and when are the sessions? The sessions are at 7 p.m. every night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. However, if you're unable to join live, all the replays will be sent to every single person in the challenge within 24 hours. So you'll never miss anything. And they run about an hour, give or take, question and answer. So if there's more questions and answers, some more questions and I have to give more answers, we might be on a little bit longer than an hour, but for the most part, they're an hour. Yep. The sessions are live, Luella. Yes, the sessions are live. However, again, if you are unable to join for any reason, I realize some people might be working, some people just might have family obligations at one or two of the days or something. Don't worry, because the replays will be sent to you within 24 hours of us doing it. So you will not miss a single piece of information. And as always, if you have any questions, the Get Money crew, which is the Facebook group that we all will be in, is always there for you to ask questions and I will answer them as they come in. So you won't miss out if you aren't live, but being live is a lot of fun. So you probably want to try and be live. You're welcome. And at the end, I'll show you how to navigate the website to everyone and Regina as well, who's trying to get in. Okay. Katie says, it's like the need versus wants. Talk to my kids, got in third. It's like the need versus wants talk my kids got in third grade by their teacher. Exactly. Exactly. When it comes to borrowing money, right? A lot of times we feel like I just need to have this. Like, no, you don't. You don't need to have it. You just really, really want it. You want it strongly, but that's not a need, right? And so we have to make sure that we are categorizing them properly. Yes, Luella, it's Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Time. Yep. But again, it's going to be 7 p.m. here. It's going to be 4 p.m. on Pacific time, for example. Some people might still be at work. It's okay. The replays are going to go out to you as well. You won't miss a single thing. Okay. So again, waiting to borrow money. You're going to improve your credit score. Keep that credit utilization below 35% and pay off everything that you can. Okay. So get it down past 35% first and then pay everything off. We're going to talk about this in the Fix My Money Challenge, how to do that. Okay. That will naturally improve your credit score. And the nice thing is that since the Federal Reserve is not lowering rates until the end of 2025, you've got from now until then. So that's over a year. We got a year and 3 or 4 months to work on this. So again, this is a prime moment that has not come around in 20 years. In 20 years, we haven't had this opportunity, right? And so now is the time you really want to maximize it, okay? And the last thing that I want you to do between now and then is I want you to take full advantage of passive income opportunities with high yield savings accounts. Open up a high yield savings account if you do not already have one. Make sure it is at a bank that does not charge you any fees. There are no minimums, and it is FDIC insured. And why is that important? Because in the event that we have another Great Depression, we don't expect it to happen, but hell, they didn't expect it to happen either, right? And it just happened. You want to make sure that the government is covering your money. The FDIC was created from when that happened because people lost all their money and went from having hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank sometimes to having nothing, and there was no way for them to recoup it. The FDIC is here now to ensure that should that happen again, you will get your money back. So you're usually insured up to, I think it's like $150,000, right? So you want to make sure that your bank has FDIC insurance. Okay. If you aren't sure, you can just simply Google, does Bank of America have FDIC insurance? It'll say yes. Does Chase Bank is it FDIC insured? Yes, whatever, right? Some of the smaller banks may not be FDIC insured. So you want to make sure. And also if you were with a credit union, they have their own insurance agency as well. separate from the FDIC. All right. So that's what you want to do. If you have any questions about high yield savings accounts, we will talk about it for real during the Fix My Money Challenge. Also, I have a whole video here on my YouTube channel about high yield savings accounts. You can watch that at your leisure as well. All right. And before we go, since some people have been asking, I'm going to show you guys how to find the Fix My Money Challenge. I'm going to show you right here. I'm just going to present my screen real quick. Ooh, where'd it go? Okay, let me share my screen. All right, you guys should be able to see my screen right now. All right, so this is the website. So if you just type in, if you go to why can't I type? fixmymoney.org. It'll bring you to this website right here. Okay. And then you just scroll down and there's several buttons where you can press register now. You just simply click register now on any of them. It'll take you straight here. Once you do that, you click register now. It'll add it to your cart. And I have 3 of these in my cart because I've been testing it out, but it's not $192. It's only $64. Let me fix the quantity. All right. So you can see for one, it's $64. You just follow the prompts here and you check out. Okay. It's real simple. And that's how you sign up. And again, the website will close today. Let me find where y'all at. The website will close today around midnight tonight on September 4th, which is the day that I'm making this video. All right. Because we start on Monday, September 9th, and we got to make sure that everybody has all that they need and that we're able to do orientation without any issues. All right. Regina says, I'm in. I look forward to working with you. Thank you for making this seem so personable. You are so welcome, my dear. You're so welcome. I'm glad that you're in. Congratulations on being in the challenge. I can't wait to work with you. All right, you guys, that's all I got for today. So has this been helpful? Is anybody confused? Is everybody good? If you have any questions, give me a 6 in the comments. Oh, no, back that up. If you are good, if you're like, yeah, I got it. This was perfect. I love it. I'm good to go. Give me a 6. 6 in the comments. Give me a 6 in the comments. Beverly says, very helpful. Awesome. I really hope also that like the explanation of how the Federal Reserve moves interest rates up and down and how it's not happenstance, how it's not accidental. This is like intentional with a purpose. Like, I hope that makes sense, because when you understand the why behind all these things, it actually helps you to think about your money differently, right? It helps you to realize like, oh, like it's actually not so bad if interest rates go up if my money is in a good place, right? But it is bad if I got a bunch of debt, for example, or if I'm trying to borrow money, And so I just find this stuff fascinating. And as someone who's a creative, and not super left brain, like I'm not a super analytical person by nature, like learning this stuff is fascinating to me. And then being able to explain it in a way that is personable and palatable and like not overwhelming to other people. I think that's why I'm able to do that so well, because I'm not somebody who like just enjoys sitting around looking at charts and graphs, like I need it in a way that is like simplistic and like I can grasp it, as opposed to like watching just the CNN ticker all day on my screen, So anyway, I'm so glad this was very, very helpful for you guys. I cannot wait to work with you guys who are in the Fix My Money Challenge. If you're not in the Fix My Money Challenge, no worries. Maybe you'll join the next one. Either way, please subscribe to this channel. Help me continue to do what I love doing, which is teaching you guys about maximizing your money. And I will catch you on the next Run It Up Wednesday. And for those of you in the Fix My Money Challenge, I will see you on Sunday during orientation at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you all. Have an amazing rest of your day. And make sure that the first thing you do is you go open your high yield savings account and you work on figuring out how you can improve your credit score. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have an awesome day. Bye.